Ross Dillon, welcome to Eric's Psychedelic Breakfast.
Thank you. I gotta ask, where did the name Eric's Psychedelic Breakfast come from? Because it's intriguing. I like
Man, this is a great question.
it. I feel
It,
well. It's interesting because I feel like we're like maybe 5, 10 years away from actually having like psychedelic breakfast products, like ketaminos or like MDMA breakfast muffins. So I mean, like if you're going with let's keep it on brand, and so you have your own Eric's Psychedelic Breakfast brand, you
hmm.
know, maybe there's something there for you in the future.
Yeah, no, that's really smart. Yeah, and that's a concept that I've been playing with. There's so many, different ways that I can add to this podcast, like I was thinking about sending people maybe some like a breakfast that they could eat maybe with me or
Oh, that's a
something,
good idea. Oh, I like that. That's fun. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but it came from Pink Floyd's album Atom Heart Mother.
Okay.
There's a song in there that's called Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast.
Oh, okay. See, I'm a Pink Floyd fan. I'm not familiar with that one per se.
Oh, come
But okay.
on.
Well, I got to now. I got to go look it up. I actually
It's
just started trying to collect a lot of their actual like vinyls and stuff.
oh nice,
But
dude.
yeah, yeah. I mean, probably the most psychedelic band. All of them, Grateful Dead. There's a couple, but Pink Floyd for me is
Right.
because they you always say like the one experience that everybody has to have on psychedelics is to listen to Dark Side of the Moon.
Right, right.
Like everyone's like, that's kind of the one of the initiations for fun that you got to
Hmm.
do. So yeah, it's always
Yeah.
cool to it adds to the theme that I'm kind of trying to horribly go for here, which is kind of
Yeah.
little psychedelic based.
Right, right. Yeah, like I love when like there's you can tell when people know Pink Floyd and then when people know Pink Floyd, you know.
Yeah. Have you ever done the and I don't know this is popular when I was growing up.
Hmm.
There's a mashup of The Wizard of Oz and Pink
Hmm.
Floyd's Dark
Hmm.
Side of the Moon, and it like syncs up perfectly, like really
Yeah.
weirdly.
Yeah. No, one time I did that, Dark Side of the Moon, but I synced it up to Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Really? Does that work too?
It surprisingly worked, man. I was just
Wait, like are you talking like the new movies or like some of the like the older cartoons or
no, no, it was the new ones, like the remade ones.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Those are
No,
actually
it was weird. It was it was interesting. But yeah, man, that song, Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast, is just literally sounds in the kitchen and like it's not music, a lot of it.
yeah.
It's just very interesting. Probably meant to listen to on psychedelics. Haven't done
Yeah.
that.
It's always time.
But man, the song Atom Heart Mother, that one is a good one. That one is a good one.
Okay. I'll have to was that the album is called Out of
Yeah.
Heart Mother? Okay, I'm gonna write that
Yes.
down.
Yeah. It's the album with the three cows. Have you ever seen it?
Yes. Okay.
Or the cow?
Okay. Got it. All right. Yeah. I'll add that to the list.
Yeah, so Ross, I guess I'll do a little introduction for you.
Oh, by all means.
Yeah, well, just for people who aren't aware, I reached out to you through the psychedelics.com Instagram, and you so kindly replied. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. We try to respond to everybody. That's half the fun is just being able to talk to everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some kind of explorers club or
Yeah,
something.
absolutely.
Man, that's so sick. Yeah, and the Instagram is so cool. And you are the manager. You
Yeah,
right?
I operate all social media for psychedelics.com. So I've been doing that. We've been building that up for a couple years now, and it's exciting. We're getting ready to launch some new things with our brand. That are you going to be at Psychedelic Science by chance?
Oh, where is that?
That's going to be in Denver in a couple weeks.
Oh man. I'm thinking about it. I wasn't gonna go, but I'm thinking about it now.
This is going to be my first time going to one of them. It's apparently one of the biggest psychedelic conferences in the world. But yeah, anyway, I was saying that we'll probably have some more stuff there to kind of let people know like exactly what we're doing. But right now, it's just building educational platforms within the psychedelic space and creating
Mm,
resources like guides that are medically reviewed. So people have we obviously don't offer anyone access, but once they have that access, they have a reliable source for harm reduction and safety and things like that. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Never in a million years did I ever think I would be working in psychedelics, but here we are, and the field is booming, and I love
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, man. It's really interesting to see these years of with also the mix of technology, you know,
Hmm.
how we're trying to take away these years of kind of like stigmatization and
Yep.
that have been done around drugs. So I think that's really cool work, man.
It
That
is.
you
It's yeah, I'm thrilled to death. I'm thrilled to death to do it, and just to be surrounded. Our entire team is just absolutely wonderful. They all have big hearts. Their heads are in the right space, and so it's just every day. I'm very lucky to wake up and just be excited to get going and go at it. I know a lot of people around the world don't get to experience that, so I try to take in every moment of it. But I am incredibly excited about the future of psychedelics. And you mentioned technology. We were actually just having a conversation not long ago, and we've had it before about how what they are kind of expecting AI's impact to have on psychedelics.
hmm
Even within the next decade, and you're talking about
Right.
creating psychedelic compounds specific to the individual based on all their personal metrics and stuff. And it's just like
Hmm.
I think that we can't even imagine the impact that that alone is just going to have on this field and just the medical field in general. So it's exciting, a little scary, a little
Right.
scary, but it's exciting that we could finally be kind of revolutionizing medicine if it's done correctly.
Right. Yeah, because part of it is taking away of the stigma is realizing that these drugs each have their own almost like personality and differences.
Hmm.
And you're right, like if you mix them with other compounds, then you get different yeah, reactions and fun stuff. Uh, so it's I think part of the work is to realize that these are not you can't just put a blanket, even like the blanket term psychedelics is so interesting, trying to
Yeah.
define that. I feel like one of the things that I do on my podcast is get a perspective of psychedelic from aspects that aren't necessarily drugs,
Mm.
like art, people can log into certain flow states and stuff.
Yep.
Right, yeah, so it's like it's interesting kind of peeling away this layer of how each one does something different. And then once we accept that and start mixing them all up, yeah, you're right, like and the help of AI. It's interesting what can come up.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating few years to say the least, and it's kind of working out well now that everything's kind of. You were mentioning like stigma, and I think just as well as I do, the stigma is definitely still there, but it has drastically dropped. That now people are no longer afraid to have this conversation. They're no longer a lot more people are saying, "Hey,
Hmm
yeah," they're coming out and saying like, "You know what, this actually really did help me."
hmm
I just couldn't really say anything about it. We get those messages all the time of people wanting to and just not like go public and share their stories, but just share them with someone. They'll
hmm
just send us a message, be like, hey, yeah, I just want to tell you about this experience that I had, and 99 out of 100 of them, they're talking about how it changed their lives,
Yeah.
and just to see people start speaking up about it. It's really encouraging. When we kind of took over and kind of planned like what direction do we want to take social media for psychedelics.com,
Right.
we obviously wanted to make something that people who are already in this field, people that are part of the many different psychedelic communities, could be proud of and enjoy the content and get something out of it. But one of the big things that we wanted to do is we wanted to take this conversation to new audiences, to different fields where people aren't having this conversation at all, where the conversation needs to be had. And so we
Mm.
we tailored a lot of our content to that, and it seemingly worked. And sure, every now and then, of course, you have people that are hopping like, oh, you're just doing drugs, psychedelics, they're going to kill you and whatnot, but it's for the most part, there is just a consensus general curiosity about it, and a general
hmm
coming to terms with the fact that you were lied we were lied to for a very
Yeah.
long time about this, and that the war on drugs, we lost decades of potential life-saving research,
hmm
because of a stigma created by a lot of people, but our government certainly had their hand in it. So, just to kind of see where everything is now in 2025, like if I would have gone back 10 years and told you, we're in 10 years, we're going to be looking at, decriminalization across the board of psychedelics, states, cities making it legal, you probably would have been the same as me. Like,
Right.
no, that's unbelievable. And so
Hmm.
to, and to see the direction that, Rick Doblin and all these people, while they've certainly made their mistakes and they've owned them, they're positioning it in a way of healing, putting veterans at the forefront, and people with you know uh, general depression disorders.
Hmm.
It was the right move, and it was a move that the politicians basically didn't have a choice to get behind, or else they would have been kind of exposed a little bit. And so it's a really weird world in
It is.
2025 that the only two things that seem to be bipartisan among our Congress and Senate and representatives is psychedelics and UFOs. That seems to be the only thing that they're on board with each other over. So uh, I think the future is bright, but there's still a lot of work to do, as we all know.
Right. Yeah, I've seen some people try to figure out a way. Like some people are thinking that if you can chemically strip away the hallucinogenic
Mhm.
experience of psychedelic, there might be there might still be a lot of beneficial aspects to it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an important conversation because there are a lot of people within the psychedelic field and communities that are not necessarily for that. I
Mm,
personally am. I think that not everybody wants to have the full psychedelic experience, and they still deserve the opportunity to find healing if all of this works.
mm,
Which the most recent study, I can't even remember the Gilgamesh Pharmaceuticals. They had a product that it basically kind of, well, it didn't remove the trip, but it kind of created an experience that was only like 45 minutes to an hour. And then they had, like, after a month, like a 93% remission rate with depression. Like, that's incredible. 93% of the people consider themselves in remission after 1 month of doing that. And of course, it was a small sample size, but I think we need to be a lot more open to the different avenues and different psychedelics that are probably going to be created over the next few years. And I understand that for many people, myself included, the actual trip itself, that experience plays a huge role in the overall healing. But that may not be the case for everybody. And if somebody does not want to have that experience, they should still have the
mhm.
opportunity to try this and
Right.
see for themselves if it
Mm,
works. I think a lot of people are worried, and I'd like to get your opinion on this too, actually. I think a lot of people are worried about that this is just going to be a way to keep criminalizing that experience, the trip aspect of it, because now we have something that works that doesn't need the trip. And I don't
mm,
think that's something that's inevitably going to happen, but I do understand that
mm.
concern.
Right. Man, that's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the concern too. It would be a bad thing for that to happen like right now, how it is now. Um, right. And I see why the issue it is because even with the hallucinogenic process, um, like psychedelics are I think it was Tim Leary that said this, they're not an escapist drug,
Yeah.
they're a
Oh yeah.
confrontationalist drug.
Yeah. I love that too. Yeah. If you for the most part, if you're on a higher dose and you're trying to escape, it's not going to let you. You're going to have a bad time.
Right. Yeah, which is like, I feel like a part of the issue on the medical term why this is hard to work with because, it's hard to, people usually go to hospitals or whatever to try to feel better, like immediately or whatever.
Hmm.
So being like, okay, here's a big dose of psilocybin, try to feel better. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's probably not going to make their day better. But with the right integration and the right
Absolutely.
steps afterwards, most bad trips usually end up helping people as well.
Yeah. Yeah. They always say the challenging trips are usually
Yeah.
the most rewarding in some aspects, and I believe that's
Yeah.
true. But like you said, integration is the key when it comes to that. or else, it could leave, some harmful marks in their
Mm,
mind if they don't have the
exactly.
opportunity to do that.
Right. And that's, I feel like, one of the issues that you can brush up to against psychedelics, that you go through the psychedelic experience and then you come back into your ego.
Hmm.
And without integration, college students are doing this, and people are doing this all over the world, and they just come right back. And instead of like actually changing and caring less about yourself and about others, it's like now you have, another experience to kind of add to your experiences. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think that's why it's important that like you're doing what you're doing here with the podcast, and that there are so many content creators now openly talking about psychedelics, because I don't even think most of the people
Hmm.
doing that understand that there needs to be an integration process. They don't understand that, hey, there is a lot of healing opportunity with this. So, that's why I think it's important for, everyone else to kind of speak up and make that stuff known. And and that's our job. And and at the end of the day, probably most of them will still be like, yeah, you know what, I'm good. I'm just going to take the drug and have a good time. Which, that's you do with your consciousness what you want to do with your consciousness. That's not up for me to judge. But hopefully at some point they'll say, or they'll remember, or they'll go back and be like, you know what, I should really try this therapeutically now, and see
Right.
what I can change.
Yeah, yeah. And there's also the perspective that some people enjoy the non-therapeutic aspect of it, like the rawness, the
Hmm.
um the non-seriousness, the just wanting to hang out with your bros and
Yeah.
listen to Pink Floyd.
Yeah, absolutely. And, by all means, I think that that can be healing too in its own ways. I think that can definitely draw, people closer together, as friends, or, they're starting to pick up some steam on a lot of like the MDMA therapies for couples. And,
Hmm.
they're finding tremendous success in all that. So,
Hmm.
you know what, if that's what you want to do, if you want to go take it and just hang out, watch
Yeah,
a movie, by all means, do it.
right.
As long as you're not hurting anybody else, go for it.
Right. Yeah, like we shouldn't be lied to about what the experience is going to
Right.
be, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's funny, it was probably a year ago. We were just kind of doing some research, and all of the top search results on Google when you're looking this stuff up is usually from like rehab facilities. And well, I don't want to knock them. A lot of them are doing great work by all means, but there were some that were just very blatantly lying about
Right.
what happens when you're on psychedelics, and talking about it being addicting and how you're going to go do it every day then afterwards. And it's like, that's not how it works. And unfortunately, those are the top search results on Google. So, there's not a whole lot that we can
Right.
necessarily do.
That's
That's why
true.
it's important to for all of us to, maybe start getting a little bit louder with everything,
Yeah.
because we're at that point now where, it's not going the conversation is not going to be shut down.
Right. Yes. Right. Because that's what happens when it gets shut down. Negative things happen.
Hmm.
Uh, People don't follow protocol. But there needs to be a protocol. There needs to be a regulated way to study these chemicals in a therapeutic aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, losing decades and decades of potential research on it was a crime against humanity almost.
Hmm.
So, we can dwell in the past, or we can look at what we have now,
Hmm.
and just marvel at all the different universities and everything. I actually, a couple of weeks ago, I had a chance to talk with Dr. Alan Davis, who is running Ohio State University's psychedelic department now. And he was telling me about how their classes, just over the past couple of years, as soon as they post it, the classes just completely fill up, like almost instantaneously, because there's just that much interest in it from younger students.
Wow.
I know University of Michigan also has their own department now. University of
Yeah.
Wisconsin, like it's crazy to see all these major universities just with like the snap of a finger, getting to really look into and research that. And I think that'll be big moving forward. I know we get messages every week from usually younger people, some people who are going into college or people going into post grad, wanting to know where they can go to, extend their knowledge of this and potentially find a career within psychedelics. So
Mhm.
it's incredible. And didn't am I correct in thinking that you kind of doing something similar or did?
Yes, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Part of this
Oh, you're good.
podcast was just wanting to talk to some interesting
Oh,
people,
I
you
get
know?
it 100%. I think it's great. Great
Right,
idea.
right. But I do want to kind of like under the rug slide in kind of like um spirituality and you
Mhm.
know just a general positive experiences, yeah, kind of under the door without people realizing.
Yeah, no, I think the question of spirituality in that conversation is only going to get louder.
Right.
With this,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that I have met that have gone through their life as an atheist, and even after psychedelic experiences, continue to be, and that's fine. That's by all means. But the majority of people that we get to talk to genuinely find some greater aspect of spirituality that they didn't know beforehand. And maybe it's not even tied to any specific religions, but it's just connected to a deeper
Mm.
connection to themselves and their own soul, their chi, their spirit, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
And I don't know if there's a way to continue to have the psychedelic conversation without this becoming part of it. And I know that a lot of
Right.
schools and stuff, they don't, kind of like what you were talking about, they want to kind of keep it, let's just talk about, what this can do to the human body, to the mind, how it can heal. But I think inevitably that is going to become a greater part of the conversation. And to be honest, I think it's maybe not necessarily because of AI, but in the next 10, 15 years, a bold prediction, I think we will have a more deeper understanding of what it means to be human, and
Right.
with and what in the and I talk about that more in the spirituality side. So we'll see, but yeah, I think it's good for you to talk about spirituality. I think it's important because it's a big part of the conversation, and it seems like it kind of went, well, we can talk about
Hmm.
psychedelics, but we need to keep that down here. When in
Exactly.
reality, they kind of tangle together a little bit. So yeah, I
Exactly.
think it's great you talk about spirituality. You shouldn't hide that under the rug. You should charge the mound with it.
Man, that's a fantastic point that you bring up, and it's so interesting how we do differ. Like, that's why I said earlier that I'm trying to kind of reframe that definition of psychedelic through art and experiences because you're right. Like we alienize that psychedelic experience. When true, if we strip away the hallucinogenic elements of it, and look at just the emotions that a lot of people get towards like the end part of the trip where the ego has maybe gone away for a bit and um it's starting to come back, and you get a
Mhm.
chance to kind of like rebuild. There's a feeling there that is feels so strange, it feels so different
Yeah.
when it's like here in the present moment. And I do think that AI is going to take away some of that pressure of oh, we don't experience that because we need to have this or we need to, be better and better. And I think if AI somehow takes away, with autonomy or something, then we are forced to kind of like be ourselves somehow,
Yeah,
at all
yeah. Well,
times.
for one, it's going to give us more time to focus on it and
Yeah.
kind of more time to connect with ourselves in that aspect. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, yeah, and I think a part of the reason why we alienate that experience is because of what 95% of the American history we have been at war, like of our country,
Yeah.
like probably we're like descendants of people who were so fucked up, who saw like the worst shit
Oh
possible.
yeah.
And then like,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
No, 100%. They could have used psychedelics the most probably
right.
yeah. Oh no, I think about that all the time. I certainly hope that no other generation has to experience what they did as far as the wars go. But man,
Right.
yeah, it was scary times for sure. But
Yeah.
we don't seem to be heading that way.
Right. But it would kind of make sense though why everybody is so kind of like protective and shielded a lot of times when we go into public a little bit, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah,
If you just think about all the trauma that a lot of people have, you know, which would
yep,
make sense why the psychedelic is so alien because it brings you to that true essence of humanity
yep,
that we were stripped from because of so much war and terrible shit.
yeah. I actually, that reminds me, I'm going to look it up real quick.
Sure.
Early last week, I was talking to a veteran who had gone through MDMA,
Oh
assisted therapy.
yeah.
Let me see, and he worded that so perfectly. Uh, oh my gosh, so much stuff here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So a veteran who'd recently gone through MDMA assisted therapy for PTSD explained perfectly the experience to me. And he said, it's like it carries your pain to the surface and then shows you how to hold it with love.
Hmm.
I was like, that's a perfect way of putting it. And you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of other things in our existence that can do that. And the healing power behind that
Hmm.
alone. Like you know, it always sounds scary going into the experience, but then once you're there, you know, you get to actually feel it. And yeah, I thought that was incredibly profound and just reminded me of what you just said.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's really cool work, man. I love being, I'm in Austin
Mhm.
and UT is doing also a little bit of research on psychedelics as
Yeah, you're
well.
right. They are. I remember they actually have their own department now, I believe.
Yeah, yeah,
I believe they're
yeah.
one of them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That is so sick just being part of all that.
It's crazy. I never thought we'd see the day where you know
Hmm.
colleges, major universities are opening their own psychedelic departments, and the work they're doing is great. Like Ohio State, they're working to create a world database of ibogaine experiences. So then you know they
Hmm.
can just to have that information because that will probably be one of the next ones that's eventually legalized. So you know having those experiences and giving people an idea of what to expect and all of that data, it would be incredibly beneficial to have. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what the University of Texas is doing. I remember I read something they were doing, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, no, they're doing a lot of experiments with veterans
Okay.
with depression, general
Yeah.
anxiety. And by the way, if anybody's listening, you want to be participating in this, you can. It's so easy to sign up and they'll pay you a lot of money to be a participant, which I think is really cool. Like,
Oh, I didn't know they paid. Yeah.
oh yeah, no, I mean,
That's awesome. Hey, more power to them.
yeah,
Select.
right. Right. Like I know like this stuff is happening actively and it's really easy to be part of it of the community. Like it's not hard to reach out and help out, donate to
Yeah,
maps
100%. Mhm.
and
And
stuff. Yeah, go ahead, go
that
ahead.
no, I was going to say, you know, one of my favorite things about this is I've worked in several communities through social media throughout my entire adult life, and in the psychedelic community, it's multiple communities, but we'll say community as a whole for this. And in general, the amount of support between everybody there is unlike anything I've ever seen before. You know, of course, you're going to have, you know, your fools that are you're just out there to be assholes. But you know, but for the most part, everyone is incredibly supportive of each other. Everybody really goes out of their
Yeah.
way to. There's not really any yet competition, and I hope as we go farther down the capitalist mark with that in the psychedelics, it stays that way. But everyone seems to have each other's back, and
Right.
I have not seen. I worked in cannabis. I certainly didn't see it there. So you know, hopefully that keeps on too. It's a really
Hmm.
powerful community full of really wonderful people who really just do want the best for everybody.
Right. 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 Yeah, it's really interesting. I have a question. What
Sure.
initially drew you to work in the psychedelic field? Because you told me that you didn't think you would ever be in the
Oh no,
psychedelic field.
I didn't even know there was a field. Honestly, for a long time there really wasn't, unless you were working
True,
within you
true,
know
true.
the research aspects of it. But no, I my introduction to psychedelics was in 2012, and I was looking up. My father, he is 15 years into a Parkinson's disease diagnosis. And so, as one does, you look up, what are some alternative treatments for that they found. And there wasn't
Right.
anything about them doing psychedelics with people with Parkinson's, but I remember reading a letter written by a neurologist talking about how there should be um, studies done on ibogaine with people with Parkinson's. And I didn't know what ibogaine even was at the time, so I went down that rabbit hole and then started looking at, and that was about the time that Johns Hopkins was getting all kinds of millions of dollars in funding for psychedelics. So it was one of those things that just kind of like popped in my head. Like, okay, so what is this? Like, we're just throwing millions of dollars at researching this. They're not doing that unless there is a lot of benefit to it. And then I just for the next 6 years, just read every book I could, went through and just read as many people's experiences. And then finally, I hit a point where I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to try it. And it just like so many others, it just completely changed every aspect of my life. It gave me the confidence to go and pursue something that I'd always wanted to pursue, which was talking about comic books on TikTok. And that blew up. And then I kind of used that to say, okay, what if I use my skills to do something with this conversation, psychedelics, and try and take it to new audiences? And right at that time, the same day I had that thought, the company I'm with now, Supermind, they had posted something saying that, hey, here's what we're doing. This is what we're looking for. And I think within 3 days, I had the job.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, everything just kind of lined up perfectly. But yeah, that was kind of my intro to psychedelics. Like I said, I didn't even know there was a psychedelic field outside of, I knew of a couple companies like Mind Bloom and things like that, primarily ketamine. So,
Right.
to see them kind of be like, oh yeah, we have the domain psychedelics.com and here's what we're wanting to do. And I was like, okay. And our values and everything aligned perfectly. And, it's just been magical working with this group of people. So yeah, just thrilled to death to be doing it. But yeah, I never in a million years thought that I would be doing anything in psychedelics. As I think if you go back 20 years and until even people like Rick Doblin and all of them, like in 2025, it's going to start being legal everywhere. They'd probably be like, okay, whatever. Yeah. Oh yeah. LSD is my go-to. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm married and have a kid now, so I'm obviously not, doing it hardly ever. But
Hmm.
LSD
Yeah.
mushrooms kind of showed me the door, and I kicked it down with LSD.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I think mushrooms, I was talking about this with Brian Bloomerth, who is an artist. Psychedelics, I mean, mushrooms they grow out of cow shit and a lot of the times they have like a like negative uh like connotation to them. Like I think they like kind of like as a teacher, a lot of times they're kind of like horny or like they literally they look like a penis. Like mushrooms,
Yeah,
they're called after penis names. You know,
quite literally, you're right. Quite literally.
yeah. So I think that's part of the mushroom experience. It's a little more grotesque, a little bit more like raw, earthy. You know,
And it has
Wh-
that feeling too. It almost has like an ancient feel to it
yeah,
when you do
right.
it.
Like they have
Yeah,
their
but
own language, they're communicating and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. No, I totally get it. You're right. The experience feels earthy. I don't really know how else to describe it, but you're right.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think psychedelics are a little bit different. I'm sorry, at LSD, I think it's a little bit different as
Yeah.
well. Which I prefer to. And I think it's really really interesting how they work therapeutically,
Oh yeah.
honestly. Because I studied neuroscience at UT Dallas,
Mhm.
and one of the things that they taught us about psilocybin was the way that it works is it rewires the sense pathways of the brain. So basically, that if you taste something, it could go to your hearing channel or whatever.
Yeah, it's called synesthesia. I think it's
Yeah,
like where
yeah,
you like
yeah.
hear colors and see music. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's exactly how they explained it to us in neuroscience class. They were like, it's temporary synesthesia, and I was like, that is so interesting.
I've never experienced that. Have you?
Um, like off
I know many who
psychedelics.
have. Yeah, I know many who have. I've never had
Hmm.
that experience.
Right. Like, and there's the experience that when you close your eyes, you see colors, right? Like,
Right, which is really interesting because I'm colorblind and I still see it when I close my eyes.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder if those colors change depending on your sensual input,
That's a good question. I've never thought about that.
right?
Like
Maybe
I like,
that.
and it's interesting. Like I could be seeing blue with my eyes closed, but it may actually be something completely different. But I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, yeah, and I think that's kind of like light, I think that's because
right.
if you ever look out of the flash or something and you close your eyes, you just see the
Oh
flash,
yeah, 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 yeah,
or
yeah,
like the sun.
yeah.
I actually used to do that. I used to like just look at the sun for 1 second and then kind of like when it's already in like sunset, and then
Mhm.
then I would just close my eyes and stare at it with my eyes closed. Just because there would be like a picture of it
Yeah.
burnt in my retina, but
What didn't they? Did the show Severance? Have you seen that?
oh no, I've been
Okay,
kind
well,
of
I'm not
waiting.
going to spoil it. There's a point in that
Okay.
show where they actually try to do that to just burn an image for. I'm not going to say
Oh,
why if
cool,
you ever watch it,
cool.
but yeah, you just mentioned that. I'm like, has he seen Severance? Because that was in there, but no, you're good.
Yeah, no, no, that's cool. That's cool. But I don't think I've experienced that, man. Not
Yeah, I
really.
haven't either.
Synesthesia. No, but it's
I know a
cool.
lot. I know a lot of people that have though, and it does
Yeah.
sound fascinating. It has to be quite the experience, I can imagine.
And there's people who get it like every time. Like every
Hmm.
time you say like they just associate certain words with certain feelings. Like for example, you say orange or something, and they'll see like they'll relate orange, like the word orange with something
That's
else.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that one. I know then a lot of times when we're designing our work on that, we'll kind of like we'll ask the question and it's weird. Like this topic, what color does this topic feel like? And try and go with
Yes.
that. I have to
Right.
use hex codes because I can't see them, but
Yeah, no, I was reading this book by Pema Chodron, and she was saying that a good spiritual exercise is to try to play a game of like guess who, but you have to use it this by describing the quality by comparing it to other things. Like you have to
oh,
say,
that's interesting.
like this person, if they were a building, if they were an architectural style, it would be this. If they were a color, like you said, or if they were a food or something, what would they be? And I think that's interesting to just practice being able to name like the quality of stuff,
I
like
like that. That'd be a fun game to play. That'd be
yeah,
a fun one to play,
right, because then you can use that like with
especially on
yourself.
psychedelics. That'd be a fun one to play.
Right, yeah. Yeah. And then you can actually explore your the qualities of your own self.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't get a chance to really look at it from that perspective, look at ourselves from that perspective.
Right, we don't.
So yeah, 100%. I'm game. You should be like turn this into a board game and just sell it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um now you did tell me that one thing that you saw I kind of forgot, but
You're
I
good.
was gonna ask you what is like some of the biggest like as being on the social media so much for the psychedelic field.
Mhm.
Um, I'm sure you kind of like have your eye open on other platforms for psychedelics and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And what is like some of the biggest misconceptions that you have seen about psychedelics? And do you like address them on your own page, you know?
Yeah, yeah, we get it's generally just the basic ones like people saying, like oh, it's just one more drug. You're replacing this drug with another one that you'll just get addicted to. The people that just don't
Right.
understand that that's not how it works. Um Trying to think of another couple examples. That's primarily it. We when we first started off, we got a lot, but nowadays we don't. And the good thing about now is our account's gotten a little bit bigger. So while I'm always I always try to be very kind when addressing people who kind of posted something that's not accurate, because most of the time they don't know. But nowadays it's usually most of the other people get to it before I do. And yeah, we always try and respond and correct any misconceptions. But I think that's one of the truest signs of how far this conversation is going is that
Hmm.
those misconceptions, like they're just not happening as much anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, outside when you take a certain percentage of people who were just out there like trolling, for instance. Um, you take that away, and it's actually incredibly rare that people just troll to troll sometimes because they just want to start stuff, and you can
Hmm.
usually pinpoint who that is. But other misconceptions are about like where it's legal and illegal and things like that. There's a lot of misconceptions
Right.
around growing mushrooms and the
Mm.
legality behind that. We talk to people every week who don't realize, well, not in Florida anymore. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to, but that you can literally order psilocybin spores for very cheap, and then just go get a grow bag for very cheap, and then you can just grow your own. And it's legal to start now. Obviously, once they're full grown, that's when it becomes illegal to have possession of them
Mm.
in most places. But yeah, there's just misconceptions about use. About there's a lot of misconceptions about what goes into psychedelic therapy. People just think it's just taking drugs at home. They don't understand the therapeutic uh, aspects that you got to go before and after the experience. Um,
Right.
so I mean, it really it's stuff that, like I said, it's getting really cleared up, and I think that's really promising, and I think that says a lot for everyone in the community who has made it a point to really be outspoken about these things. It doesn't help that the platforms are very quick to censor. I
Hmm.
know we have had our account permanent. Well, not we got it back, but it was suspended permanently, is what they told us several times, just for talking about like news, like talking about like actual research and studies. And so,
Wow.
that's made it difficult. And I know
Yeah.
a lot of accounts, just even in the past couple of weeks, have been suspended. Because they just have like their AI sensors or whatever it is go through, and no human eyeballs ever see them, and they'll
Yeah.
see something and be like, because they tell us we're selling drugs. That's why
Yeah.
they get us, and we're not selling drugs.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it's interesting. The people who are selling drugs on the platform are
Oh
usually
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so there's a lot to overcome, and I commend people for all these people that build up big accounts talking about psychedelics and then have it taken away. They don't go away. They just go make a new account and keep going. They just keep chugging along, and I think in the end that's going to have a massive payoff for
Yeah.
all like for people who do have misconceptions about it. But the good news is, like I said, it's going away. The
Yeah.
misconceptions, you're always gonna have people who are against it and don't want it. But for the most part, it's very, very promising.
Yeah, and every day it seems like the laws are actively changing, especially as we get younger people, newer generations up into the positions of higher power,
I think that's what it's gonna take a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, just people who weren't, you know, who didn't grow up with all of that false
Oh,
information.
I saw down in your state. I can't think of the gentleman's name, but the that press conference he gave after banning the THC stuff.
Yeah.
It was very much like he's just straight up lying, and he's using a veteran's
Mm,
product to lie. So it was very
yeah.
disheartening. So I mean, and to your
Right.
point, he was an older gentleman. He wasn't taking
Right.
he knew that this was the best option for everybody in
Yeah.
his state, and he wasn't going to listen to anybody and do it. And unfortunately,
Hmm.
that kind of attitude and leadership is what has taken our country down the road it has. So
Hmm.
yeah, you're right. I think it's going to take a lot of new voices getting involved in psychedelics. Um, just today, Maine, or maybe it was yesterday or today, Maine passed by one single vote uh, to legalize possession of psilocybin. It won like 70 to 69. And,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, that just happened today. It's still got to go through the state Senate, which they're iffy about. And, this similar one happened last year, and they just ended up tearing it to shreds.
Yeah.
But it is positive, and I bring this back to your point of getting younger people in office. The two individuals that we quoted on there were both younger gentlemen who were
Mm.
up in office who have been very prominent voices in not only this psilocybin possession but also legalizing cannabis throughout the state of Maine. So yeah, just to your point, yeah, I think that is going to be a lot of what it takes. And I certainly
Hmm.
do hope we start seeing a lot younger people, jump into the mix
Right.
and run for election because
Yeah.
we do need some more open-minded people in there.
Hmm.
No, not to knock anybody that's currently there, but
Right. Yeah. And it is a tricky path because like as we say it's not like it's a confrontational drug, you know, and a lot of people do have a lot of pain and things to hide. So it's it's so tricky to be to be, you know, gentle with all that stuff that you don't really see, you know.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I can understand why it's going so slow, you know, this type of things.
Yeah, it's going slower than what anybody wants, but I think
Hmm.
when we go back and look at the history books, we'll see that the period between everything's illegal to, we now have legalized possession, decriminalization. It's
Hmm.
going to look like a tiny little blip, and
Hmm.
we'll look back on it and be like, wow, that actually happened very, very quickly.
True.
Um, Living in the moment though, and just literally like what you said, we see people like veterans and severe depression and seeing them not get that help is also what makes us feel like this is going too slow.
Hmm.
We really need to speed it up just
Yeah.
because most people have a lot of empathy towards them,
Yeah.
and we want to see them heal. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's going pretty quick.
Right.
But I think we all want it to go a little.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I get it. Yeah. And I guess like as this moves, how do you kind of handle that change in legality and constant changes in regulations and stuff like that? Do you like sometimes like change your post, like, you know what I mean? Does that ever happen?
Well, the bad part is about with our posts is because we have to be so censored with what we say,
Yeah.
or else we get suspended. We really only have about one way to take it, and that's to take a completely neutral approach.
Hmm.
There are certainly times where I'd like to be get a little more add a little more of my personal bias in there, but in the long run, it's only going to hurt us. So it doesn't necessarily change the language, um, but I hopefully it changes what we are able to talk about on there without being suspended.
Hmm.
But it's interesting. Yeah, my mind was blown because just the other day, I won't name the company on here. I'm happy to tell you later. There is a company that does a very good job of distributing psychedelics, and they had showed me an actual product that they had of like LSD and what this is actually going to look like packaged and legal. And I'm
Cool.
sitting here looking at this bottle and it's completely mind blowing to me. I was like, I cannot believe we got to this point
Yeah.
where now we have a legitimate packaged with safety and harm reduction, correct dosage, everything right on this, and my mind was blown just looking at it. And so I think it's going to be shell shock for a lot of people when this inevitably does happen, but in a good way.
Hmm.
But we still even when this inevitably does happen, we still need to put things like safety and harm reduction first, because people are going to just go buy it and take a bunch and not know what they're doing. We've all seen that happen. So um, no, so to answer your question, no, it doesn't really change any of the messaging, just because we're kind of stuck having to do what we're doing. And I say we're, and just about everybody in
Hmm.
psychedelics on these platforms are in the same position.
Yeah. Um, so with that being said, what is like one of the riskier kind of creative posts that you have done that you've taken or
Oh. um, that's interesting. So I did for a while. One of the things I wanted to do was talk about some parts of the experience that generally aren't talked about too much within the psychedelic field and the psychedelic community. It kind of almost in the same aspect like we talked about like spirituality.
Hmm.
So I did a post about why do people when they trip see this grid that supposedly covers everything. There are so many people swear by it, and we did a post kind of breaking down like different things that it could be. And
Right.
and it initially when we first posted it, people like comment like, "Why are you talking about this? Like, why does this matter? Who cares?" And then Joe Rogan shared it, and that kind of changed the conversation.
Ooh.
And so we and just it started flooding, and people were like, "Oh my God, I thought I was the only one who experienced it." And so like yeah, like stuff like that. The
Yeah.
different things that happen under psychedelics that we don't necessarily talk about. I would say those are more of the risque, but they happen, and I think we need to have conversations about them. There's a few other ones that kind of fell into that category. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but yeah, the grid was a big one. We've talked about Christ consciousness that people experience under, large
Mm.
doses of mushrooms. Anytime you talk about religion, you're trying to talk about religion and psychedelics. Those are usually the most controversial posts that we do.
Wow.
Um, yeah, just the other day we posted, or a couple of weeks ago we posted. It was an actual study that was done that was talking about how people who have tried psychedelics are generally, not always by any means, but generally more likely to leave their religion, but their
Hmm.
spirituality stays untouched,
Right.
and that caused a lot of controversy. Um,
Right.
yeah,
Oh.
it just is what it is. It's a touchy subject when you get into that, but
Yeah.
we're gonna have these conversations eventually.
Man,
Um,
that makes me wonder, like maybe in a few years we could like send AI, like we can send ChatGPT into the LSD realm and like
that'd be pretty wild. I wonder that would be interesting. We'd have to give it the brain chemistry, but hey, it could probably do that for itself. One of the other ones, and we haven't done it yet. It's still on the table. I just need to get in contact with a few people. And this one will be considered weird a lot too. But again, it's something that's happening within psychedelics. Is people are using, not people. There's actually a company. It's a private group, not a company, that's run by a couple billionaires, and they are using a specific psychedelic to try to make connection with, I guess, the phenomenon, or what a lot of people feel is extraterrestrials. And
Oh, okay.
they're putting a lot of money, like UFOs. Like they're putting a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're putting millions and millions of dollars into researching this.
Mm.
It's not DMT. I'm pretty sure it's LSD that they're doing, and they have
Mm.
protocols for, and they've supposedly had success. That's all I know.
Wow.
That's all I know, and I don't. Again, that's all. Take it all with a massive grain of salt, but
Yeah.
it's something that's happening. And I was told that directly by someone in the know, and I've got some resources so I'm hoping to do something on that soon. Um,
Yeah.
but I need to plan that out and make sure that's done right, because that could open a rabbit hole that maybe we don't want to go down.
True. True. Yeah. And I think somewhere down that rabbit hole, I don't know if you have you heard of directed transpermia or panspermia?
Transpermia,
Yeah.
like almost like coming like something like I do. I think like life came from a meteor and then expanded, or mushrooms, or
Right.
is
Yeah,
it
but
something like that?
yeah,
What
yeah,
specifically are you talking
yeah.
about?
Yeah, well, just the idea that they're like scientists can't trace back DNA to like any like uh like there's no reason
Yeah.
for the any life to have been created, right? Like that first spark of organisms of
Yep.
there's like they're saying that lightning had to had strike this like molecule or something. So basically the idea is that right, it came from like a meteor, but maybe that meteor was sent on purpose
Yeah.
from
Mhm. So
an
like life
alien
was seeded
species.
essentially, or
Yeah.
maybe an alien species that's already reached AI 100,000 years ago, and it's their AI's mission to go around and seed. I mean, there are a
Right.
lot of different things. Like when you think
Yeah.
about, the Earth is what, 4.6 billion years old.
Yeah.
Humans have been here for a couple 100,000 years. We've been advanced for a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
There are star systems out there that are, 15 billion
Yeah.
years old. And if life has generated on any one of those, you're talking about something that could be literally billions of years more advanced than you are. We wouldn't even
Hmm.
recognize it. We wouldn't
Right.
know what we were looking at. We would be like, it'd be like an ant seeing a plane, you know.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I think I'm obsessed with these theories, and it's
Yeah.
interesting. Psychedelics is one of the reasons why, because it kind of opens your mind. You're like, wait a minute, if this can happen, if I can experience this, what else have we not been told the truth about? And maybe mushrooms and ayahuasca and so many other mind expanding tools were used for thousands of years. It makes you what did they know that we didn't? It seems
Yeah.
like there was a lot of information that just stopped being passed down. Um,
Right. And a lot of the other information did get passed down. Like for example, you like like religion, you know, like that's
Yep.
something that is very, very old that we still to this day practice. And but but the psychedelic didn't get passed down with it. And so now you have some kind of ceremony happening where you're kind of eating the flesh of a god and drinking its blood and all of this stuff, but there you're missing that true like you know fire. I think Duncan Trussell one time described it as gathering around a bunch of logs and saying, "Ah, this fire is so nice," when it's missing like that, like that spirituality, psychedelic, the true flesh of the god or whatever.
Yeah. hmm Yeah, and it's this stuff that I think we're going to learn a lot about ourselves and about what it means to be human in the next 20
Yeah.
years, I think. And I hope we certainly get to learn a little bit more about maybe potentially our cosmic neighbors, or maybe they're not our neighbors. Maybe it's something that was here
Hmm.
for longer than us.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not our planet.
Yeah.
Just
And have you seen the Google video, the new Google video generator, the
Oh, Vito.
VO3?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
unreal. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's scary too. And I think I know you're going with this.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Um, well, I think I was just gonna say that that uh man, I actually don't know where I was going with that.
No, even if there, I was gonna say even if there, like it could so easily, everything could so easily be fake now that
Oh yeah, there we go.
they could get a clear footage of
Yeah.
something coming down that
Yeah.
is not ours, and people still aren't gonna believe it. And
Right.
understandably so. I mean, I like the videos that they did some where it was like religious figures kind of like filming like a selfie as they were going through like their moments. Like David was filming while
Oh
he's about to
yeah.
throw it. He said he was about to yeet this rock at Goliath. I
Yeah.
died. And it's so realistic. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
But anything can be fake now,
Yeah.
and that's it's cool, but it's also scary. And
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Because it makes you think like if they're giving this out to the public now, like what have they have access to that they have not been giving out to
But
the public? If it's that good and that's
mhm.
what anybody can have access to.
It's the rule of thumb that I heard, and I think this is just anecdotally. The rule of thumb was if we have it, they've had it for 20 years.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so a lot of the like maybe news and stuff that we've been digesting could have been, you know,
Maybe,
yeah.
potentially. That's scary to think about, but potentially. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting couple years with AI and everything. But I hope that doesn't take away from us learning more about who we are. Because that'll I think that will be I think we are incoming on one of the most fascinating points in human history.
I agree.
I think we're teetering on which way that's going to go. So
Yes, right. Right. And it made me wonder, like maybe it would also be somehow beneficial to do strip away the hallucinogenic experience from the psychedelic,
yeah,
but only to experience that part and not the not the
yeah, and
paranoia.
hey, look again. There was an instance where when I would try and take psilocybin, it didn't have any effect on me. This was within the past year, just because I some hormonal things and some medication
Right.
that I was on. Not SSRIs, but I took like 4 grams. It was pure psilocin. It was in gummy form, and I didn't feel anything. But then
Damn.
for the next several weeks, I felt fantastic. I
Yeah.
felt so good. I was so uplifted. I was motivated. So it's like even though I didn't have the experience, I still felt really good. And and everybody
Wow.
deserves that if that's what they choose. So
Wow.
by all means.
Yeah, but I was also saying like the opposite could also be interesting, like having just the visual aspects of it.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So just yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, that would be.
You know,
You can kind of do that stuff. They have
you
some interesting
can.
on
You're
VR. It's
right.
mainly VR,
I guess
but
it's just VR.
yeah. So I mean, you're still
You're
walking
right.
around with a giant headset on, like that's not fun. But like
You're
there are
right.
they've
You're
made
right.
games that are based on psychedelics, and you can get them like
Yeah.
Meta Quest and everything like that. And they're
Yeah.
cool. They are, and you can still kind of see out in front of you and everything. It's just more
Hmm.
trippy. But
And
yeah.
you can hold your breath for like a long time, and
Oh yeah,
you
yeah, 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 yeah.
Ross, let me ask you one more question before you wrap up.
Sure, go for it.
Do you have any general advice for any aspiring content creators that cover psychedelics? Just maybe to cover psychedelics responsibly.
Oh, to cover it responsibly. Uh, well, first of all, for content creators, my advice would just be to make as much content as you can.
Mm, nice.
That's the name of the game. Focus on video because that's what the algorithms are promoting right now. We can do graphics until we're blue in the face, but they're not showing those to people who aren't your followers.
Mm,
So I would keep it video. I would say don't be afraid to put yourself out there for anyone. Record yourself talking about it. And this is where AI can come in handy. If you write up a script, throw it in there and be like, check this for safety and harm reduction, and it will generally do
mm,
a really good job. So that just makes sure that you're not putting bad information out there, or information that may be true to you but not somebody else.
yeah.
We have all the tools to do it, but my main thing was just put the camera on and just go. Just keep going, just keep talking, keep posting videos, and then learn from it. And you'll
Hmm.
pick up on what works and what doesn't work. But especially in psychedelics, we need more faces. We need more people on video
Hmm.
talking about like what you're doing here, like what you're doing with the podcast. I think that's incredibly important.
I'll try to make sure to send it to ChatGPT to check for.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think something
Yeah.
like yourself, like you've got a pretty good grasp on what you're talking about, obviously.
Yes,
So,
thanks.
I think you would probably be fine. And I would, we never use the words like will or
Mm.
like could. We always use may, because that opens it up to this
Whoa.
may have this effect on you, but it doesn't necessarily have that effect on everybody else. So
Right.
just like little things like the word choices and stuff can help you be safe.
Mm.
And obviously, like I don't need to tell you this, but for any other listeners, it's important to understand that just because you have a certain experience, not everybody does. And so when you address that, be like, oh, here's what's going to happen. Make sure you're saying this is my experience with it. Everybody's experiences differ. Always make sure to recommend people. And we sometimes even put it in our post. This isn't medical advice by
Right.
any means. We're just having a conversation. And just things to cover yourself like that. Remind people to go look up contraindications, and really do their research. It's never we never try to tell somebody to do it. We never have tried to encourage anybody to do it. But you can have that conversation without doing it, and I think that's the sweet point.
Right. Right. Awesome. Well, Ross, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on and giving me a little bit of your time.
Oh, anytime, man. This was fun. I love talking about this, and like I said,
Me
I've
too.
said it a couple of times now. I think what you're doing is very important.
Yeah.
So, keep it up. The more people we have talking about it, the better.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll try, man. Actually, I have a podcast coming up with a psychedelic therapist next week.
Oh, cool.
And I
Who's that,
re
if you don't mind me asking?
um man, I let me get his name. Let me see real quick. His name is Julian Bermudez. He has like his own
Okay.
little practice that he's been doing.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that'll be a fascinating
Right?
conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I also really want to get a lot of the lab members from UT, the
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Fonso,
for sure.
the Fonso lab. They're doing
They're
fascinating
they're always
research.
looking for publicity too. So
Oh,
I'm sure they wouldn't hesitate
yeah.
to hop on a call with you.
Yeah, and they're really cool. A lot of them are students, and that's
Hmm.
just I just think it's a cool platform, to have that
Yeah, it's
conversation.
interesting. Just real quick, and then I'll let you go. Going back to the spirituality thing, one of the
Yeah.
things I asked Dr. Davis at Ohio State was about how they address the spirituality aspect, and
Ooh.
he straight up said they don't.
Yeah.
He's like, we try not to, and
Well,
and I don't think it's because that's not what they believe in, but
yeah.
it's just when you're trying to get something approved, it's difficult to bring that aspect of the conversation into it when you know you have people from multiple different cultures and things that go into
Mhm.
that with a different perspective. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to bring that up because I didn't mention it earlier.
Yeah, no, and that's why I'm trying to get both sides of the spectrum. Like I'm getting the research
Yep.
aspect of it, and then there's the therapeutic aspect of it, which is
Mhm.
like how do they handle the spirituality of it? Like if your job is to integrate that into their daily lives, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a bunch of different people who do it differently, you
Of
know?
course. There's going to come a point. It's like I've looked at it like spirituality is like it's like a pyramid over here on its side, and then over here you have science. You know, they couldn't be farther apart at their base, but as they get closer together, you know,
Mm,
they're almost there touching. And I think that's the
right.
path we're on right now.
Yeah, yeah, I don't remember who said this. It was some monk or
Mhm.
teacher who said that LSD was the reincarnation of Krishna, manifested materialistically for for material culture.
That's beautiful, actually.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful
right?
thought. Yeah, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah. How
It's
spirituality.
yeah, that's interesting, especially you know when like I mentioned earlier, when a lot of people feel like they experience that Christ consciousness on it. That so like
Yeah.
that makes when you put it in that aspect, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So you know
Right.
maybe there's some aspects to that there. Yeah, they're true.
Yeah, and I also love to say this quote all the time from Einstein, who said that he didn't come to his conclusions of the laws of the universe through his rational mind.
Mm,
You know, I love that one.
yeah, yeah. There are a
Yeah.
lot of people that I don't think Einstein used psychedelics. I think that's
Mm,
a little bit before his time. Maybe he did. He would have greatly benefited from it, I'm sure. But there are so many other people that, like Francis
right.
Crick, he credited LSD with discovering the DNA helix molecule.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
you're right.
yeah, there's a lot of stories. Like Steve
Yeah.
Jobs even credited LSD for you know a lot of what he did.
Right. And it's so interesting to think about how Einstein's beautiful, unrational, amazing, beautiful thought led to the creation of something that was going to kill and destroy, like, unparalleled,
Mhm.
you
It's
know?
hard. That's a heartbreaking aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Graham Hancock has the quote where he says, "If it were up to him, anybody running for political office would have to take 12 ayahuasca journeys before running." And he's like, and then that will make them a more nurtured, caring person, you know, ready to put others first. You know, but the issue with that is, you do 12 ayahuasca sessions. Are you gonna want to? Are you gonna want to run for office after that? Probably not. But yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the role of psychedelics can be important. You know, for creating more empathetic human beings.
Hmm.
I would like to see more people in charge and have the experience. I think we all would, but I don't. Some parts of me don't think it would actually do very much for them at this point.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I agree, especially with stuff like AI
Hmm.
and virtual reality, like stuff that is becoming so similar to the psychedelic experience, you know?
Yep.
Like yeah, it's just coming closer and closer to our culture. You know, you see it in art, it's kind of
Hmm.
cool as well. Um,
Who's your favorite artist so far within the psychedelic space?
oh man, that's a great, great, great question. Um,
I'm an Alex Gray guy.
oh
I think
shoot.
I mean, he's the goat.
Shoot, he's the GOAT, man.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT. I can't think of anybody else. Like obviously, I think of Brian Bloomer. I just interviewed him. He was an
Hmm.
amazing artist who straight up came to my head. I also thought about Jason Galea, man, the artist for King Gizzard and the
For
Lizard,
who?
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They're really cool. Yeah.
Oh, the band. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, oh, yeah.
they're
That's tripping.
artists.
The Velociraptor on the riding.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's cool.
they have this one music video that's called Iron Lung. I don't know if you want to pull it up real quick, dude. They made it with like with AI back when like AI was, coming up, and it's like one of the coolest music videos
Oh
ever.
yeah, this is totally AI.
Yeah.
This was like 2 years ago. AI,
Right.
how quickly it's advanced. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Oh
You
yeah,
can you
this
can
is trippy.
you can tell what year it came from, like if it was like a TV or something, you know?
Yeah, now we can do that with AI too.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, this is trippy. I'll bookmark this and watch this later.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's so interesting to see how AI can be psychedelic, man.
Their next show is going to be like very close to me. I'm just looking
Oh,
at this.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
shoot.
Manchester, Tennessee. Well, I'm assuming they're doing Bonnaroo. That's why.
Cool. Man, you
Yeah.
should totally check it out. They're
I
cool.
wish, man. I'll be in Denver at that time, so I won't be
Oh
able to.
man, is that the same as the Maps conference?
It's yeah, same one. Yep.
Cool. I think Ram Dass's people are doing a talk there about how Ram Dass used to use
Oh, I'll
psychedelics
check that
and
out. Yeah.
spirituality. Yeah,
Hmm.
man. Well, dude, thank you so much. I'll try to check out more about the Colorado because that sounds so sick, man. I know
Yeah.
it's
Hey. Yeah. Definitely.
yeah, I know it's a few days and that's like part of the thing for me, but hey, maybe I can make it.
Yeah. If you can, absolutely, that'd be great. See you up there. You get to meet a lot of people.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I
Mhm.
was thinking. If not now, then maybe sometime in the future.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, is there anything that you would like to plug? Maybe like your TikTok or anything?
Oh, I don't even honestly do my TikTok too much anymore.
Oh, okay.
But I need to. But I mean, yeah, you can just follow us at psychedelics.com. Come in and join the conversation.
Yeah,
And yeah, we definitely appreciate all of our followers.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Ross.
No, thank you, man.
Oh, well, actually, one that last tiny thing. I
Sure.
always like to ask people, what did you have for breakfast? I forgot to ask you. What do you like to
What
have?
did I have for? I don't eat breakfast, so I did not. I don't. I only eat one meal a day. I eat at night. Uh,
Did you have like something to drink?
I did. I chugged 20 ounces of water. Here, I'll give you an answer though. I made my daughter. I made my daughter a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with yogurt.
Like inside?
And so, yeah, I made my daughter that for her breakfast.
Like you put yogurt in her peanut
Oh
butter?
no! Oh no!
Oh, okay.
I see what you're saying. No, no, no. That sounds interesting, but no, it
Yeah.
was just actual yogurt on the side.
Skip a step.
Yeah. No, but that's what she had for
Nice.
breakfast, and I had
Nice.
like a spoonful of the yogurt, so I'll take that. What
Nice.
did you have for breakfast?
Man, I wasn't gonna have breakfast, but I knew you were gonna ask me this, so I was like, I gotta have something for for his
Everyone
answer.
takes one look at me. They're like, "Yeah, he's going to ask about food. Look at him.
Yeah. So I very
This guy's
quickly,
definitely got food on his mind. Go for it."
dude, I very quickly cooked one of my favorite psychedelic breakfasts.
Hmm.
Two just sunny side up eggs, dude, in the pan. You know
Oh, there you go.
what I'm saying? The little toast on the
Yeah.
side.
All right, I got you. That's
One
nice. Do you
bite,
put
one
anything on?
bite
Do you put
egg.
anything on the toast?
Nothing. Oh, on the toast? No, no. I
Oh
put the egg
wow,
on the toast.
you're a raw. Oh, okay, I got you. I got you. I was about to say you're a raw dog in the toast. All right, toss a little mustard on there too.
Ooh, I see
Yeah,
you. Any
yeah, be a
specific
nice
mustard? I
sandwich.
know mustard is a huge family.
Oh, I could go with any of them.
Gotcha.
I don't think you can go wrong. Classic yellow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Some Dijon.
Yeah.
All right, Roz. Well, I'll let you go, man. Thank you so much, man.
All good, man. Appreciate you.
Hare Krishna.